your life, and then just beautiful.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Absolutely. We will start today's session with an unusual but special and interesting way. We will listen to Begin the Begin as recommended by Nomita ji, and of course the choice of song that Baba made uh, that had to be played when he dropped his body. So let me start with that. Share, include sound. Just give me a thumbs up if you
Yes,
hear
yes.
the sound.
Not yet the sound, but we can see the visual.
Jai
Thank
Baba.
you for that suggestion. I hope those of you. Oops, we're done.
Baba's humor.
Yeah, disco version of that. Okay. Anyway, before we forget, I'll confirm that that's not the original, by the way. So
Yeah.
that is a remix. That
Yeah.
is a remixed and a different voice, but it was very nice, and it was nice to see the words in karaoke form, which was very useful. I've never seen it that way. I'm trying to recollect who between I think it was Ward, or it was not Ward. It's the person in North Carolina. What's his name? He did a feature on the choice of Begin the Begin, right? So the artist, the poem, the song, a half an hour program on this. So I wish I can find that. If I do, I will share it. So nothing in connection with the avatar is random or without a deeper purpose. And with that thought, we dig into details to find out more, and somebody has done that for Begin the Begin. So I'll try to share that as well. Okay, so how's everybody
Jai
today?
Baba.
Let's
The
yes,
Yes.
song is also played in Amartiti.
yeah, of course, yes, at 12 15 or 12 to before silence. Okay, so with that out of the way, we jump right into where we were supposed to start today, which is sorry. Okay, so we finished part 8 in the last session, and consciously we said we will do the chart 7 after that. So we're going to take up chart 7 as the starting point for this morning. I had sent a video reference of a talk and specifically also pointed out a few minutes that's worthy of everybody's time as a precursor to this. And in that, for those of you who have listened to it already, it's a repeat, but what I'll say is it's the microcosm, macrocosm. So Baba has spent a lot of time describing that the the three the three worlds, the three bodies are basically microcosm, macrocosm, and this chart is one of the best ways of understanding that. And Baba has dedicated a chapter for that, a section for it completely. So everybody's able to see my screen right now, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let's start with so those of you on the physical book, it's 154. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Meher Baba's explanation of chart 7 facing this page. So, chart 7, by the way, is this. Okay, so this is where the the microcosm, macrocosm, and everything is in. I mean, all of this happening is within the bigger reality, right? So that's the idea that we will learn. Okay. Meher Baba's explanation of chart 7 facing this page. With the energy from the subtle and the illumination from the mental spheres for trillions upon trillions of years in the past and in the future, the gross universe has been and will be forming and disintegrating into countless stars, suns, planets, worlds, moons, and meteors. Yet, in fact, there are no such things as time and space. Once the soul is freed of illusion, big I illusion does not merely cease to exist, but is then found never to have existed at all. After a gradual evolution through the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms of the gross universe for a definite yet immeasurable period of millions, billions, and trillions of years, consciousness reaches perfection in man. Reread this line because it covers the entire evolution period. After a gradual evolution through the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms of the gross universe, for a, please note the adjective, definite yet immeasurable period of millions, billions, and trillions of years, consciousness reaches perfection in man. Man, then rightly, ought to be God conscious, but does not because does not become so because of the sanskaric bindings born of impressions of the illusory experiences gathered during the evolution of consciousness. Thus, man remains fully conscious only of the gross. Before man's perfect but gross consciousness can evolve into the reality bigger of God consciousness, it has to first, it has first to involve into subtle consciousness and from the subtle into full mental consciousness. For that, the gross impressions have to turn into the subtle and from the subtle into the mental impressions, regaining in degree the faintness and fineness of earlier impressions as gathered in the vegetable and mineral forms. The fundamental difference being in consciousness. Unlike the definite course followed in the process of evolution, man, as man, can make use of his consciousness fully and freely. Therefore, the fully gross conscious man, according to the resultant tightening or loosening of his sanskaric bindings, can become fully subtle conscious and thereafter fully mental conscious, sometimes after a few or sometimes after numerous human reincarnations, between each of the two involutions of his consciousness. And if one happens to be blessed with divine love from a lover of God, or if one has the guiding hand of a perfect master, the emancipation from all bindings, however great and complicated they may be, is achieved much more easily and quickly. In exceptional cases, an instantaneous emancipation is also possible without involving a single reincarnation. I pause here. What are the two involutions of his consciousness? The first line on this page. Anybody? Why is he saying two involutions? I think it is a reference
one
to
to four, 1 to 4 and onward.
yes. So it's basically mental and I mean subtle first, and then a mental, as I think he just described in the previous paragraph. So if you s- so if you see can become fully subtle conscious and thereafter fully mental conscious. So, suggesting the involution can be broken into two rounds as such. But otherwise, in all other Baba literature, we take involution to be
Correct.
combined and continuous and not really broken up as two. This is the first reference that we are seeing for two involutions. But I believe
Yeah.
you
Gross is already part of evolution. Involution
correct.
is another
Yes.
next two steps. Yeah, Baba.
Yeah, and there are two. But then I think it's safer to just keep it as one. And just for the doubt that I asked, your what we seem to conjecture is correct, which is gross to mental being the first one, and the second one being mental to I mean subtle, gross to subtle first one, and subtle to mental second one. Okay. And of course, again, there is a reminder that with the grace of a perfect master, things can get super speeded up. Okay. However, in order to loosen the bindings through the opposite experiences of the duality of illusion, that is, pain and pleasure, good and bad, man and woman, strong and weak, etc., on his own, man has to remain conscious of multifarious experiences for 84 lakhs of times through something like 50 crores of sleeps of death. Yet, invariably, on account of the all pervading grace of God, man becomes subtle and mental conscious and is thus able to cut short more or less the stalemate of recurring physical births and deaths. Finally, by the grace of the God man or the man God, in far, far less than an instant's flash of time, man becomes fully conscious God and finds that time and space are born of his own eternity and infinitude in which time and space have no existence at all. So here's a magical example of man becoming God in one paragraph and grammatically being demonstrated. So if you see, the line starts, finally, by the grace of the God man or the man God, in far, far less than an instant's flash of time, man is the subject. Man becomes fully conscious God. So now he's become God and finds that time and space are born of his. Now, this his could refer to both man and God, but both are the same, are born of his own eternity and infinitude in which time and space have no existence at all. Anyway, okay, so now I hope you realize why I told you to see that video. This does not talk about macrocosm, microcosm. This does not talk about Satchit Anand. But I believe Ward is onto something. That's a beautiful correlation that has been created. And I think please refer that video when you get a chance, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. Now let's go to the chart and see if what we read makes sense here, right? So everything is the big circle, and the title is God is everything and all else is nothing. Uh, all else, and on the top, God is reality and all else is illusion. So basically, man goes through gross consciousness through the gross body, which is nothing but the small gross shadow, microcosm, of gross sphere, which is the gross world, which is the big gross shadow, which is what? Gross shadow of God, equal to gross nothing, which is nothing into nothing into nothing. That's the first one. And yeah, I think Norm, you have to mute your mic, please.
Okay,
Man,
thanks.
yeah, man in the second stage after in the first involution or the first part of involution, man is subtle conscious. I'm here, green arrow through subtle body, small subtle shadow. So this is the second shadow. It's the small subtle shadow of subtle sphere, subtle world, big, which is nothing but the big subtle shadow, which is nothing but the subtle nothing. So it is a shadow of everything, but it is subtle and it's nothing, which is nothing into nothing. Then man is subtle conscious functioning through gross and the subtle body. So if you see the third man arrow, the green arrow goes through gross body, and that's, if you remember, even a subtle conscious man does all his operations and functions, even a mental conscious man, right? Even in the stages of involution. That's the reference in the third, fourth, and fifth arrows, right? So now number 4, man is mental conscious. Sorry, let me finish this. Man is subtle conscious functioning through gross body, small gross shadow of gross sphere, which is big gross shadow, gross nothing, which is nothing into nothing into nothing. This is the functioning in the subtle plane. Now, number 4, man is mental conscious through mental body, small mental shadow of mental sphere, which is big mental shadow, which is equal to mental nothing, which is equal to nothing. Finally, the 5th man is mental conscious functioning. Now he goes through subtle and then through gross, and hence he uses a gross body, which is the small gross shadow of gross sphere, big gross shadow, which is gross nothing, which is nothing into nothing into nothing. So if you see the reflection side, the other side, the most original state is still intact, which is on the right side, God's most original unconscious state of beyond the beyond. And the reality state, which is the true state, that's the state after beyond the beyond, contains both men God, which is man gods, and God man. Actually, that's a good point. I just realized we should always say men God, but we should always say God man, because there's only one God man, but there are many men God, even from the plurality of souls perspective. There's only one soul that comes back again and again as God man, but there is a plurality of numbers in the individual drops when you take the men God. And there it says, I'm reading under reality, God is conscious of everything except nothing. And men God, okay, that's beyond. So beyond God is conscious of everything except nothing. And men God and God man are simultaneously conscious of everything, including all nothing, which is the state that we understand the perfect masters and avatars to be in. Okay, so is this clear? Any thoughts? Any comments? Any questions?
Jay Baba, nothing into nothing into nothing. It's basically 0 into 0 into 0. I mean, that's what
Don't
came to
bring
my mind.
mathematics, because there's difference. Yeah, but even there it's infinity. Okay.
Yeah, infinity. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right. But mathematically, infinity itself is challenged by Baba, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
Maya, part 4.
Yeah. Jay Baba.
Yeah. Okay. So, if that's okay, let's continue back into our next section, which is going to be the states of God. Or before that, the footnote. So the footnote is in literally the last paragraph. Asked for further clarification, H.B. Jesawala wrote in reply, the reference to 50 crores of sleeps of death is approximately what one soul has to undergo during the processes of evolution of consciousness of forms and of reincarnation with the help of changes in the media, that is, the association with and the disassociation from different forms of different species. 84 lakhs of shakings or reincarnations are in human form. But 50 crores of sleeps of death include pre-human forms, associations with, and disassociations from media and the experiences of their impressions. Media is nothing but form. Man need not die more times than he can be born. Man is born once with the birth of mind, and man dies once with the annihilation of mind. As such, there is indeed no reincarnation. It is just a process of crores of sleeps of death for the mind that is born once and that dies once. Birth of mind involves the processes of evolution, reincarnation, and involution. Death of mind, Manonash, is realization of the biggest self. So, this is, I think, all the way Eruch. Yeah, all the way it's Eruch B. Jesawala. It's commentary on the question on the 50 crores. So who's keeping count? How many are we done with? How many sleeps of death done?
I think
You
we
know,
are almost there.
49
I think we
crore,
are almost there.
99, 49 crore, 99 lakhs, 99,999. That's what I'd like it to be.
No, no, the ratio is even if you take it 1 crore,
Huh,
1 crore by 50 is the ratio, right? 84 lakhs if you say 0.84
yes.
divided by 50. So we are almost through, as she said. Yeah.
No, but then where was the count today? So the count today, if this is your last, it has to be somewhere around 49 plus.
No, but you don't need to go through the whole circle if you are,
Thank
you
you.
know.
That's the answer I wanted.
Yeah.
So,
So we don't need to
so
count all till the end. I think we are on a fast track. We are on a
Insha
highway
Baba.
with no
Insha
lights.
Baba. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
We should just remember his name in our last dying breath. That's
We
the
should
Yes.
remember it in living, then we will remember it in dying.
yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Baba says that every living moment, if you can remember, only then you can remember in the last. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on to.
It is not as difficult. He says, if you just remember me once in a day, you will not forget to remember me during life. So
During the last.
he has made it very easy. But if you can do it more, that's better. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
He is
Yes.
just ensuring that we don't forget. Yeah.
there is uh, a way to remember, and that's with every breath in ba and every breath out ba. So Baba. So you just internalize it, and then you will remember him every time. With every
Yeah,
breath,
but also when he becomes part of your being, you think of him in everything, everything you do. So he's around you 24/7 at least. So then you don't need to put extra effort. He's as good as your own breath. He's with you in this moment, in another moment. It becomes your being, remembering him or having him with you throughout the day. Jai Baba.
it's easier
Jai
said than
Baba.
done. Jai Baba.
Yeah, I know. I'm on
It's
Ashokji's side.
done and then it becomes easy.
Yeah, that's your state. My state is more closer to Ashokji. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
Anyway,
When I'll tell you in difficulties, you go and tell him, Baba, show me the way. In happiness, you say, thank you, Baba. So there's no effort, honestly. If you look beautiful, you say, Baba, kya shakal di hai. If you look ugly, say, Baba, make me improve. So basically, he is the one who's doing everything. So then you are hands free.
Absolutely. Constant companion.
Yeah. Jai
Okay,
Baba.
let's, Jai Baba, thank you. Thanks for sharing your experiences. Let's continue with on to the next chapter, which is the 10 States of God by LHP Jesawala. The 10 States of God, which follows, was written by LHB Jesawala under the direct supervision of Meher Baba, describing and interpreting an original diagram, the 10 States of God, devised by Meher Baba. The editors. The principal states of God depicted by Meher Baba. State 1, God in Beyond Beyond. State 2, God in Beyond substates A, B, and C. State 3, God as emanator, sustainer, and dissolver. State 4, God as embodied soul. State 5, God as soul in the state of evolution. State 6, God as human soul in the state of reincarnation. State 6, God in the state of spiritually advanced souls. State 8, God as the divinely absorbed. State 9, God as liberated, incarnate soul. State 10, finally, God as man God and God man. And there is a footnote. So let's read the footnote. Oh, it just says see chart. Okay. Let's go see chart.
I have a
Oh
question,
God.
and
Yes.
that is
Boliye,
Like
sir.
a maze.
in this earlier chart, we are on which level? I think it should be stage 6 in the state of reincarnation. Can you just come back to the chart again, please?
Seven.
The,
Seven.
the
Seven
10,
it is.
6 or
What is
7,
that?
whatever.
Seven.
Human
What was the
soul in the
question?
state.
Six. Six.
Whose
Six, you're
role?
right. Yeah.
6, 6, yes.
Yes, Jai Baba.
We are in
बीच में फंसे
6.
हुए बीच में फंसे हुए हैं.
Nick, yeah, the state of spiritually advanced souls. Is that the one?
No, no, no.
No,
Six.
no,
Six.
state 6. Human soul in the state of reincarnation.
Oh.
We're talking
But I
about
think we are
ourselves. We are
moving
in
towards
6 now.
7.
Yeah, we are in
Some of
6
us
for sure.
just reached six. Some of us are close to seven.
Kya malum, yeah.
Yeah, I think. So can you nominate the ones close to 7?
No, no, no. That's confidential.
सेल्फ असेसमेंट होता है ना रियल एग्जाम से पहले,
Yeah,
Yes.
उससे कॉन्फिडेंस बूस्ट होता है.
yeah. So 50 crore में ये सब included है ना पूरा ये
हाँ,
cycle.
बिल्कुल.
I think we should have a AI meter created which is listening to our words and using AI
हाँ.
determining spiritual ego. So it should keep saying red ki tarah jayega. Hey, stop! Your spiritual ego is showing up. That's a good use case for AI now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so this is the chart, the 10 states of God. So this is state 1, and state 2 is 3 states, and that is described here. God neither consciously experiences power, knowledge, and bliss, nor uses them. That is state A. State B is God consciously experiences power, knowledge, bliss, but does not use them. And C, God consciously experiences power, knowledge, bliss, and uses them. So A, B, and C, right? And then you have the uh, state 4, sorry, state 3, then God as emanator, sustainer, dissolver, God as embodied soul as state 4, as the drop soul getting created. Then from there, you come into the state 5, going through the evolution from stones, metals, vegetables, worms, fishes, birds, animals, and humans. From there, as a human being, he comes in to state 6, God as human soul in the state of reincarnation. And in the state of reincarnation, from there, you go to God in the state of spiritually advanced souls. And here is the journey that we just talked about in the previous slide of two involutions. So you go from initially you're in the gross world, and then you go to the mental world, and then you go to the, subtle world, and then you go to the mental world. They always seem to be in a hurry. From 7, you go to 8, which is God as the divinely absorbed. And Baba says, after mental world, soul enters highest divine consciousness. From there, if divinely absorbed state leaves its divine state, it goes to the divine junction or the man God state. This is the divine junction. Otherwise, you go to the man God state, which is here, God as man God and God man. And if you notice, God man comes directly to that state. Man God goes through this, right? So that's why it goes to the divine junction or the man God state, not to the God man state, right? And yeah, ninth state in between is the God stationed in divine junction as liberated but incarnate soul. Okay, so we'll go state by state, but this is just the first overview of the chart, right? Oh, wait a second. Okay, I was in this page. Got it. Okay, this is just the terms. We'll come across that when we read. Okay, part 9, the 10 states of God. The pages of this chapter are built around the diagram depicting the 10 states of God. This diagram has been given by Meher Baba himself. It is a gem from the fathomless treasure of his supreme gnosis. The spiritual terms of this diagram have been linked up with the most generally accepted Sufi, Vedantic, and Christian mystical equivalents. That is chart 8. Chart 8 or chart 9? Yeah, this is chart 8, and this is just called the 10 states of God chart. Okay. So there is a little bit of a confusion there. If we were to take a bird's eye view of this diagram, we should find that it depicts what is really the downward journey of the oversoul to the lowest point of devolution as man, insan, jivatma, and its upward journey again through the unfolding planes of consciousness, back to the original source, first as the divinely absorbed Mansub-e-Kamil, and culminating finally in the perfect master, Insan-e-Kamil, Shiv Atma. The 10 different states of God are principal stages on this journey, a journey in which unconscious God becomes conscious man in order to become conscious God. Although these states of God are depicted as apparently distinct from one another, they are in effect 10 aspects of the one God who is and will always remain one. The descent and ascent of the oversoul is in imagination only, and with the cessation of imagination comes the realization with full consciousness for the individual soul that God alone exists and that anything and everything else which appears to exist is but his shadow. Okay? Meher Baba's gnosis upholds without equivocation both the theory of identityism, Wahadut ul Wujud, and the theory of Advaitism. We'll go see the supplement in a minute. I just finished this paragraph. In the chart, The 10 States of God by Meher Baba, it is made clear that it is God alone who plays the different roles, real and imaginary. The beginning is God and the end is God. The intermediary stages cannot but be God. The spiritual dictum of Islamic theology is Huwal Awwal, Huwal Akhir. Huwal Zahir, Huwal Batin, Huwal Awal. Awal is first, Akhir is last. He is the first, he is the last. Huwal Awal, Huwal Akhir. He is the external, he is the internal, Huwal Batin. So now let's finish this section and then we'll go to the footnote. I mean the supplement. Maulana Shabistari in Gulshan e Raz says, Garandar Ahmad Awal Hum Bidar Shud Agar Chi Dar Ma'ad As Dar Bidar Shud. He returns to the door from which he first came out, although in his journey he went from door to door. Wow. He returns to the door from which he first came out, although in his journey he went from door to door. We shall now try to describe concisely each one of these 10 states of God as explained by Meher Baba. But before that, we go to the supplement. And was it 34? Yes, it was. So there it's Wudut Wahdat ul Wujud. But what's the title here is Tawheed, or the unitary state of God. Now, there are two contrasting ideas that are mentioned there. Baba upholds without equivocation both the theory of identityism, which is the one we're going to read about, and the second theory is Advaitism, right? So he's upholding two things. So we are reading the first of those two, which is the Islamic concept. Tawheed, or the unitary state of God. The principle involving Tawheed, or the unitary state of God, is indisputable. It is the basic foundation of all known religions and the goal of spiritual discipline in both Sufism and Vedanta. To accept Tawheed in theory is the privilege of the masses, but to indulge in research thereof is the speciality of the select few. It is both easy and difficult. Tawheed is seemingly so easy that it is talked about universally on pulpit and platform, and yet it is so difficult of achievement that the best of efforts therein yield nothing but stupefaction and bewilderment. The unity of God in its transcendent aspect is the Tawheed e Tanzihi, absolute oneness of Sufism, and the Advaita of Vedanta. The problem of Tawheed represents multifarious aspects, as is exemplified by the old story of several blind people examining an elephant. Each touched a different part of the creature and formed a different opinion. Individual approach to the subject is relatively quite true and unchallengeable, and yet the elephant as a whole is something quite different and ununderstandable for the blind. The following are a few utterances of eminent Sufis concerning Tawheed and the aspects thereof which appeal to them. Before that, there is a footnote. The apparent contradictions in the words of Sufis are merely due to limitations of the means to express the experienced truths and to describe the realized truth in different contexts, under different circumstances, and from different points of view that always go together in a single experience or realization as a whole. Meher Baba says that such wordy differences do not contradict but complement the expressions of experienced and realized truths which underlie such contradictions. explanations in this respect, such has have already been given in preceding pages, should therefore be always borne in mind, namely, and it goes, oh, it goes to the next page. Okay, so the few utterances. So if you notice the last line that we read before the footnote, the few utterances of eminent Sufis concerning Tawheed and the aspects thereof which appeal to them, which is what is explained in the coming page. So let's go. First one, Junaid of Baghdad. Tawheed is that reality in which the impressions, Naqsh, are wiped out and knowledge appears and God remains as immaculate and pure as he was before. So impressions are the dirt on the mirror. God is uh, God minus impressions is the pure and immaculate appearance that is restored. And the restoration of that state is through knowledge. So this is the idea of Junaid of Baghdad. I'll read again. Tawheed is that reality in which the impressions, Naqsh, are wiped out and knowledge appears and God remains as immaculate and pure as he was before. Second one, again Junaid of Baghdad. Tawheed is the knowledge of God, and this knowledge enables the Gnostic to differentiate between the original, Kadim, and the contingent, Hadas, being. The transcendent state of Tawheed involves the denial of Tawheed. This gets tricky. So, first is there is the original state Kadim and the contingent state Hadas. Maybe the reference here is to Bigar reality and contingent being illusion. The transcendent state of Tawheed involves the denial of Tawheed. This is confusing, right? So you're saying Tawheed itself denies the existence of Tawheed. But Tawheed is the knowledge of God, is the first line here. Okay. So let's see that in that context. Okay. So once Tawheed is reached, your Tawheed itself doesn't matter. That's what it means. The transcendent state of Tawheed involves the denial of Tawheed. Okay. Anyway, any other ways of interpreting this? Please, you're welcome to share them. Otherwise, I will continue. Okay. The next aspect or next utterance on this, Jahangir Samnani. Tawheed is the effacement of the lover in the attributes of the beloved. Keyword is effacement and the preposition in. So Tawheed is effacement of the lover. That is, the lover is loses his face, loses his thing. Where? In the attributes of the beloved. Very beautiful. Tawheed is the effacement of the lover in the attributes of the beloved. Similar to I mean, you can broadly say it's like the union, the lover and the beloved, and so on and so forth. Okay.
Cheba, would that last line refer to Manonash? Because you get union with the beloved, and there is an annihilation of the mind.
Yes, absolutely. Only with annihilation of the mind is true union reached. Divine union is reached only at that point. So yes, absolutely. I think you need to mute Namita ji. Tawheed has two aspects. One is the state, and the other is the description of it. The descriptive aspect of Tawheed belongs to the worldly mission of the prophets, and the state thereof involves the infinite and boundless ocean. Again, I'm repeating the whole thing. Tawheed has two aspects. One is the state itself, and the other is the description of it. The descriptive aspect of Tawheed belongs to the worldly mission of the prophets, and the state thereof involves the infinite and boundless ocean. The descriptive aspect depends on the instrumentality of speech, sight, hearing, and cognition, and all of this require separate confirmation. To confirm on the basis of extraneous proofs is to suggest duality, and Tawheed is free of all tinge of duality. Faith in a man walks through the crowded thoroughfare of duality, and this stage cannot altogether be dispensed with. Very, very beautiful. Very, very, very beautiful. So, what? So, this is similar to, I mean, incidentally, this is pointing strongly to the Manonash that Ashokji just referred in his comment. So, you need the aspect and the structure and uh, should I say, the mechanical aspects of the mind to be able to reach the point of understanding the true nature of Tawheed. So, Tawheed is the boundless ocean. To understand the boundless ocean, I need to be able to describe it using semantics, using language, using similes, using examples, and all of that belong to the illusory world, right? I'm using all those constructs of the illusory world to describe something that is actually the boundless ocean. So at some point, I walk through it, and then Tawheed is reached where none of the past matters. And now this statement will make a lot more sense. Tawheed is the knowledge of God, and this knowledge enables the Gnostic to differentiate between the original and the contingent. The transcendent Tawheed involves the denial of Tawheed. So, what I was trying to understand, explain, and discuss about the concept of Tawheed, once I have reached it, is actually denied because none of that matters. I think that's very, very beautiful. Anyway, let's continue. Uh, oh, so wait a minute. There is a footnote. So now I get it. So if you notice the footnote here, it ends with a semicolon, right? In the previous page. So it means that it continues here. Okay. So the footnote continues here without, I'll just confirm for sure that there is no foot. Yeah, it is the same. So page 193, the first reference that he gives, the approach to truth is individual. And so in the matter of details, much depends upon one's spiritual tendency, physical aptitude, and external circumstances. Now, again, for context, I'll read the last line and then finish off the footnote, then we'll go back. Okay. I'm sorry about this. I thought of it when I saw the semicolon, but I thought maybe that. Anyway, explanations. So I'll read the whole footnote so that there's continuity, no harm. The apparent contradictions in the words of Sufis are merely due to limitations of the means to express the experienced truths and to describe the realized truth in different contexts, under different circumstances, and from different points of view that always go together in a single experience or realization as a whole. Meher Baba says that such wordy differences do not contradict but complement the expressions of experienced and realized truths which underlie such contradictions. Explanations in this respect, such has already been given in preceding pages, should therefore be always be borne in mind. The explanations that are given before are the ones in the next page's footnote, right? So those are 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first one is page 193. The approach to the truth is individual. And so, in the matter of details, much depends upon one's spiritual tendency, physical aptitude, and external circumstances. I think we agree to that very, very easily. But just for uh, good order, let me go to 193 and actually see what is being talked about there. So that's the second supplement. Yeah. So approach to truth is individual. There is no general rule or method applicable to all who aspire to realize God. Every man must work out his own salvation and must choose his own method, although his choice is mostly determined by the total effect of the mind impressions, sanskaras, acquired in previous lives. He should be guided by the creed of his conscience and follow the method that best suits his spiritual tendency, his physical aptitude, and his external circumstances. Truth is one, but the approach to it is essentially individual. The Sufi says there are as many ways to God as there are souls of men, right? So I think I will not read the whole reference because it's something that we have read in detail and discussed before. So now let's get back to the next reference. 1,000 seekers may be enjoying as many experiences, yet the path of gnosis is only one. So these statements are brought out to show how ineffective or how diverse and how divergent sometimes these statements are, which are all describing the same ocean. So the first statement is saying there are many paths. Second statement is saying 1,000 seekers may be enjoying as many experiences, yet the path of gnosis is only one. So that's another supplement. So let's just see what 198 talks about. Yeah. Meher Baba says that there may be 1,000 seekers enjoying as many spiritual experiences, but there's only one path of gnosis. It is an internal but an actual pathway. Though not an ordinary path, it is distinctly perceptible as such to the internal eye of the true pilgrim who travels along it. But even those mystics who have truly experienced and can only explain the sections of the path that they themselves have traversed, and what one master has traveled, one drop soul has traversed, will not be the same as what the other soul has traversed. That's the difference because we already learned that every soul has an individual path. Those who have reached the critical point on the third plane can know nothing about the fourth plane, nor can they lead anyone up to their own level. Anyway, I will not again, as I said, go to the whole read, but just giving you the context. Let's get back here. 207. In spite of the different aspects of the experiences of the big E experience, all the aspects are experienced together at the same time. Let me repeat. In spite of the different aspects of the experiences of the big E experience, there are many aspects and there are many experiences of the one big E experience. But Baba says all the aspects are experienced together at the same time. And let's quickly go and see where and what he's saying about that. 207. Yeah. There are four angles of the one experience written in the language of Sufi Gnosis. They are different aspects of Gnosis of souls in the sixth plane. Then they are face to face with God, but still in the domain of duality. All of these aspects are experienced together and at the same time. I think we read this about a month back. So everything is He, everything is from Him, everything is with Him, and everything is in Him. The key part to take away is all of these aspects are experienced, but they're experienced as aspects at the same time, right? Okay. Number 4. On the one hand, more details confuse one more. I agree. On the one hand, more details confuse one more, and less details explain things less. I agree as well. This gives rise to a variety of terms and expressions for use from different viewpoints and in different contexts. In the absence of actual experience, descriptions of the same one thing often sound contradictory. But in the light of relative experiences or the final realization of truth, these very contradictions prove to be really complementary expressions about the same one truth. So, what may seem absolutely different, absolutely divergent, and as though we are talking about different things, after the benefit of experience, you will realize that the first explanation also was applicable, the second explanation was also applicable, all were explaining the same thing, and they were all happening at the same time. Just for, we'll just go to 228 anyway. To 28. Okay, we are on to the next page. Yeah, so it must be this. The five spheres described by Meher Baba. Meher Baba says there are five spheres: gross, subtle, mental, composite, and real. The question of details is all the more important when a subject is beyond ordinary human experience. On the one hand, more details confuse one more, and less details explains things less. This gives rise to a variety of terms and expressions for use from different viewpoints and in different contexts. In the absence of underlying experience, again, experience, descriptions of the same one thing often sound contradictory. But in the light of relative experiences or the final realization of big T truth, the very contradictions prove to be complementary expressions about the same one big T truth. The facts and the facts of facts underlying the five spheres will bear this out. So I'll not go into the details again, but in all this, now you will relate to uh, the six blind men and the elephant example even more, right? So the blind man that was holding the leg felt that the elephant was a pillar. The blind man holding the tail felt that it was whatever, a twig or a snake. He felt it was a snake. Correct. The man holding the ear felt it was a fan. Right. All of them are right in their own way, but yet they fail miserably in getting the whole picture, and none of their individual things can be denied. So that is the nature, and that's the power of that beautiful imagery and analogy of the elephant. Yeah. Any quick comments before we get to Tawheed again? So this is very philosophical and comparative. So I hope I'm trying my best to make it interesting and involved. But please feel free to jump in and give your comments. Okay, so let's continue. So we saw three statements of the Sufis. Now there is an explanation. Tawheed has two aspects. One is the state, and the other is the description of it. The descriptive aspect of Tawheed belongs to the world. I think we read it, but it's okay. The descriptive aspect of the Tawheed belongs to the worldly mission of the prophets, and the state thereof involves the infinite and boundless ocean. The descriptive aspect depends on the instrumentality of speech, sight, hearing, and cognition, and all of this requires separate confirmation. To confirm on the basis of extraneous proofs is to suggest duality. And Tawheed is free of all tinge of duality. Faith in a man walks through the crowded thoroughfare of duality, and this stage cannot altogether be dispensed with. Descriptive Tawheed is like a lamp, while Tawheed in itself and by itself is the sun. When the sun appears, the light of the lamp vanishes into nothingness. Descriptive Tawheed is changeable, while the state of Tawheed is immutable and eternal. The words uttered by the tongue are overruled by the heart. When one on the spiritual journey occupies the station of the heart, the tongue becomes defunct and mute. Later on, the heart too is overridden by the spirit, John, and at this stage, the wayfarer talks to him. This talk is not in relation to the essence, but in relation to its attribute. The attribute changes and not the essence. Ein. Sun warms up the water, whereby the attribute is changed, but not the water. Thus, the very attempt to affirm Tawheed is to deteriorate the pristine purity of Tawheed. Asbat ut Tawheed, fasidun fit Tawheed. Tawheed wails for the Unitarian Mawahid, the beauty of absolute oneness, Jamal e Ahadiyat. Tawheed on that account is suspect because you desire it from yourself. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. One who writes about Tawheed is a mulhid rationalist. One who points towards it is a dualist. One who infers it is an idolater. One who talks about it is irresponsible. One who is silent about it is ignorant. One who thinks that he has realized it is self deluded. One who imagines its nearness is distant from it. One who weighs it with intellect and forms ideas thereof is indulging in make believe. And the one who finds it seeking is the lost one. And the one who finds it without seeking is the lost one. Sorry. This is Abu Bakr Shibli. Next one, Muhyiddin ibn Arabi. Tawheed, if spoken of in relation to absolutism, tanzih, is to qualify it, and to refer to it as qualified, tasbih, is to make it limited and finite. To equilibrate the two extremes is, however, perfect and just what is desirable. So these are all different explanations of Tawheed, splitting hairs and getting into the details from a philosophical standpoint, philosophical logic and semantics perspective. Kuduntul Kubra is the next comment. Tawheed is essentially forgetfulness of Tawheed. Those returning to normal consciousness must need, must needs have some work on the material plane. Hence, Tawheed may be likened to a creditor that can never be adequately and fully paid off in life. I think this is a good line. So you can never understand this 100%. Tawheed may be likened to a creditor that can never be adequately and fully paid off in life. So, Tawheed, the Unitarian stage of God, therefore, admits of no language, as in that transcendent state, there is none to whom to address oneself. Yeah, I hope this makes sense, right? So when you're saying it is the Unitarian stage of God, everything is one, there is no other, then in that transcendent state, how do you address oneself? Who is addressing whom? Because there is only one state. There's only Tawheed. So the Sufis have classified Tawheed into five main categories in keeping with or connoting the different stages of man's spiritual unfoldment. They are known as Tawheed e Akwali, the verbal unity of God, Tawheed e Afali, the active unity of God, Tawheed e Ahwali, the feeling unity of God, Tawheed e Sifati, unity of God in attributes. Sifat is attribute. Tawheed e Zati, unity of God in essence. I will now read each one at a time. If anybody wants to stop or comment, please feel free. Tawheed e Akwali belongs to the majority of mankind who believe in any one prophet, avatar, and have faith in his message. At this stage, mere verbal acceptance of God or the unity of God and the performance of duties pertaining thereto enjoined by the lawgiver are considered enough as a preparation for the forthcoming stages of spiritual life. This is also known as Tawheed e Shariat. So, this is the stage of Tawheed where you follow a prophet, gives you certain rules, and the observance of those rules are supposed to take you to Tawheed. And this stage of Tawheed or this aspect of Tawheed is Tawheed e Shariat or Tawheed e Akwali. And it is largely verbal. When I say verbal, it's linked to a message. It's linked to something written like the Quran, the Gita, whatever, I think. Right? Now let's continue. Tawheed e Af'ali concerns those who have actually been initiated into the path. The expression of the unity of God with such initiates of the subtle sphere, Alam e Malakut, simulates intrinsically the life of the pure souls, the angels. At this stage, the spiritual conviction engendered within is that behind everything, good or bad, is the motivating power of God. I quite didn't understand this. Let me read it again. Okay. Tawheed e Afali concerns those who have actually been initiated into the path. The expression of the unity of God with such initiates of the subtle sphere, Alame Malakut, simulates intrinsically the life of the pure souls, the angels. At this stage, the spiritual conviction engendered within is that behind everything, good or bad, is the motivating power of God. So, this is nothing but the subtle sphere. So, you've moved from Shariat, you've gone into the subtle sphere, and you simulate the spiritual, um, um, the life of pure souls like angels. And behind everything, your motivating power is God in the subtle sphere. That is, so basically, it's the evolution from the stage of Shariat into the subtle flame. Tawheed e Ahwali dawns on those advanced souls of the fifth plane in the mental sphere. At this stage, the soul finds itself invested with direct radiation of divinity and consciously or unconsciously gives immense help to others in the subtle and gross spheres. So if Tawheed e Af'ali was subtle Spain, Tawheed e Ahwali is uh, mental plane, and you also give others help. And I don't know if etymologically the word wali comes from there. Ahwali, wali, right? Wali and pir. And wali is fifth plane. Now, the fourth one, Tawheed e Sifati. Tawheed Sifati belongs to the sixth plane in the same sphere, mental. All the aspects of materiality from the gross and subtlety, from the subtle planes, still clinging to the soul, are completely removed and dissolved, like the luster of stars getting dissipated before the sun. Both 3 and 4, that's mental plane and sixth plane, both 3 and 4 Tawheed belong to the same mental sphere, yeah, And all the three, 2, 3, and 4, are also collectively known as Tawheed a Tariqat. So after Sharia, you have Tariqat, right? If you remember, there is also Tariqat, Shariat, Tariqat, Marifat, Hakikat. So I think this is matching that. Tawheed a is Zati is essence. So Tawheed is Zati is God realization in the fifth real sphere of Hakikat. So which includes the different stages or aspects of the Marifat e Hakikat. Marifat is just before Hakikat, namely Halat e Muhammadi in the stage of Lahut and Hakikat e Muhammadi in the stage of Hahut of the sphere of reality. By this time, you're in the seventh plane. Hakikat refers to being in the seventh plane. Halate Muhammadi is being in the seventh plane. The Sufis are unanimous on the point that amongst the various aspects inherent in the realization or Tawheed e Zati, the most perfect one is the accentuation of the difference of ubudiyat, servantship, between man and God. This spiritual fact the church has misconstrued and misapplied in adducing that man is man and God is God, and that man can never become God, nor can God ever devolve into man. So this part is Baba's push and logic for Advaita. Right? So he's saying very, very categorically, I'll reread this. The Sufis are unanimous on the point that amongst the various aspects inherent in the realization or Tawheed e Zati, the most perfect one is the accentuation of the difference of ubudiyat, servantship between man and God. So there is a reference to the servantship between man and God. But Baba says this spiritual fact the church has misconstrued and misapplied in adducing that man is man and God is God, and that man can never become God, nor can God ever devolve into man. The truth underlying the situation, however, is that after the realization of Tawheed e Zati, the emphasis on Ubudiyat connotes the third journey of the Saliks called Seira Ma Allah, the return to normal consciousness with God. We know the four journeys. So this is if you finish servantship, then you go to the third journey called and reach the state of perfect master. The varying stages and aspects of Tawheed as discussed above are given below in a tabular form. Tawheed e Akwali, Waqif, gross conscious. Alam e Nasut, this is the first sphere. This is Akwali, so the dude is in gross, I mean, the soul is in gross sphere, and you are basically following Shariat. Tawheed e Afali, Wasif, he's a
You
praiser.
pronounce it Alam. Alam is approved, not Alam.
Oh,
Yeah.
Alam. Okay, Alam
Yeah.
e
Alam.
Malakut, Alam e Nasut. Thank you. Alam e Malakut is the second sphere, which is the subtle sphere, and you're in Tawheed e Afali. Here, your role, your aspect is that of a praiser. Uh, Praiser again. So, if you see the first one, you're just cross conscious. The second one, you are you're recognizing God and you're in praise of Him, right? Then the third one, which is the fifth plane, the second part of the mental world, Tawheed e Ahwali, he is an Arif, he's a knower, the person who knows. And in Alam e Jabrut, in the mental sphere, there are two status, Tawheed e Ahwali and Tawheed e Sifati. So you first are the knower, the person who knows, and then you become the Ashik lover. Then finally, Tawheed e Zati. Number one, you are Ashik o Mashuk, lover and beloved in one. So this is the union. And Alam e Lahut. Did I say it right? And Ashik, lover, and Mashuk, beloved simultaneously. So in the first stage, you are lover and beloved in one. And in the
Yeah.
second stage, you are Ashik and Mashuk, lover and beloved
Mashuk.
simultaneously.
Actually, we pronounce this, normally it is pronounced double O Q. Mashuk.
Hmm.
Mashuk is the lover. Yeah. Ashike Mashuk. Mashuk is the beloved. Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
the
Baba.
subject, yeah, is the subject. So the
Yeah, yeah.
Ashik is the lover, and then the beloved is Mashuk. Mashuk. Okay. Ashik o Mashuk. Ashik o Mashuk. You need to be a singer to know all this, huh? Okay.
These words are
Continuing.
used in a lot of trees, so that's how I
Yeah, yeah,
know
that's
the
what I'm saying.
pronunciation.
Yes. Okay. Wujudiyah and Shuhudiyah. Among the various types of Unitarians, Ahl-e-Tawheed, the most important and controversial are the two schools of thought known as Wujudiyah and Shuhudiyah. Muhyiddin ibn Arabi is the greatest advocate of Wujudiyah school, upholding Wahdat ul Wujud, unity of existence, which in Vedanta is Advaitism. So, the closest to Advaita in the schools of Sufi thought is Wahdat ul Wujud, as expounded and advocated by Muhyiddin ibn Arabi. He was also referred to earlier as one of the quotations. I continue. Okay. Advaitism upheld by its greatest exponent, Shankaracharya. Continuing, according to Ghazur e Ilahi, Ibn Arabi held that existence, wujud, is not more than one and is the very same, is manifest to itself by itself, like water, which is manifest to itself in the form of ice by way of limitation. When in the state of fana, the limitation, the form, disappears. The absolute remains and becomes who, who, he. Sheikh Shahabuddin Suhrawardi, one of the chief sponsors of the Shuhudiya school, the other one, characterizing its philosophy as Wahdat ul Shuhud, apparentism. The Vishishta Advaita of Vedanta maintains that in Fana, Banda, the limited, the drop soul, becomes Ha Nahu, who. The Banda, limited, becomes Kana who, like him, and not who, does not become he, as iron in the fire, which becomes like fire, but not fire itself. The reality of iron being quite different from that of fire. The Shuhudiyas define two different existence, Zat, and two distinct things in view, iron and fire. The iron becomes fire temporarily, and then iron is iron and fire is fire. So the Banda becomes like him, Kana but not who. Whereas in the Advaita, the what's the name? Wujud, Wahdat ul Wujud, you become he. Sorry, who in English, he. So when in the state of fana, the limitation, the form disappears, the absolute remains and becomes who in Arabic, which is he. So that's the two schools, Wahdat ul Shuhud and Wahdat, Wahdat ul Shuhud. No, Wahdat ul Wujud and Wahdat ul Shuhud. My apologies, as my Arabic is not, I'm not as conversant, and so I'm struggling with the words. Okay, let's continue. Mirza Jan Janan says that the relationship between the unmanifest aspect of God and the manifest aspect of God is that which exists between the ocean, the waves, and the bubbles. And this multiplicity does not in any way affect or interfere with the oneness of reality. This is Wahdat al Wujud, identityism, which is Advaita. Ocean example is Advaita. In contrast with this, the other position determining the relationship between God and the created as that of the original and its shadow, or the sun and its rays, is Wahdat ul Shuhud, apparentism. So you have identityism, which is drop ocean waves, and you have apparentism, Wahdat ul Shuhud, which is iron and the fire. I think that's the way to remember these two concepts. The iron never becomes the fire, but it almost becomes fires. Gets all the attributes. It looks red. It becomes as hot as fire. It looks like fire, but it's not fire. Whereas in the example of the ocean, the bubble, when it gets popped, is water. Right? Okay, Wahdat ul Wujud of Muhyiddin ibn Arabi is from the heights of Ahadiyat, conscious unity, and the gnosis pertaining to this stage is therefore Hama Ust. We just read in 208, Hama Ust, everything is He. Wahdat ul Shuhud of Sheikh Shahabuddin Suhrawardi, also known as Mujadid, is from the same heights of reality, Hakikat, but the gnosis expressed is Hama as Ust. Everything is from him. So you are one step away. Your apparentism, you are the iron. The two doctrines and the resultant controversies are a later development at the beginning of the present Daur e Kalandari, which is the cycle of mastery. Daur, so it's Daur, the Urdu Daur, Daur e Kalandari, cycle of mastery, and so did not arise during the lifetime of the Arabian prophet Muhammad. The doctrine of Wujudiyas is based on experience plus reason, and the Shuhudiyas base it on experience and the Quranic aspects of common interest. I don't know what is Quranic aspects of common interest. But basically, the Wujudiyas is identityism, which is Advaitism, base it on experience plus reason. And the Shuhudiyas base it on experience and Quranic aspects of common interest. Continuing, Ibn Arabi denies transcendence and immanence, which imply duality. He maintains that God is one and it is He alone who exists. All else that appear to exist are His manifestation or tajalliyat. Hence, God is identical with sifat, attributes, and all divine names are identical with the named, which is Allah. The saints who belong to the Wujudiya school of thought have their eyes on the oneness of existence, Wahid ul Wujud, the first tajalli, manifestation of God, from the stage of ahadiyat, and therefore the later devolutions, that is mental, subtle, and gross worlds, are like a shadow, zil, which is nothing, and as such constitutes an adumberation on Zat, divine essence. The shadow, zil, however, owes its existence to and is dependent upon God, who is infinite and eternal. Thus, the shadow also is in the sense that the Vujudiyas look upon everything as God, even the shadows, mental, subtle, and gross worlds, which have no independent existence. So that's Advaita basically, right? So even the illusion, the big eye illusion, is inside reality. The shadow is also God, right? So that's what the Vujudiya school believe in. The Shuhudiyas, as said before, hold two zats, the one of reality and the other of non-reality, the one of God and the other of Banda. The zat of Banda is zero, Adam, and this Adum or Adam, this Adum, nothingness, is relational, Izafi, and is not real, Hakiki. If nothing, Adum, is to be considered as an essence, bigger reality, then there will be two Zats, which results in dualism.
Zat. Call it
Zat, okay.
Zat.
Zat,
Zat
Zat,
means
okay.
variety. Yeah.
Zat means variety.
Zat हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, we call it, we are in a age, what we call it, the Thakurs or the Brahmins, and
Oh,
the
okay. Caste,
variety.
caste, caste, caste,
Yeah,
caste. Okay.
caste.
Caste,
Yeah.
caste. Okay. There'll be two Zats. The Adam Izafi is only relatively an Adam, nothing. It is mere zero. If any number of zeros are added to a zero, the value of the number does not change. Thus, Adam is therefore a symbol in the knowledge of God. Since perfection appertains to Zat, God is perfection itself. Imperfection relates to Adam, and hence evil is the manifestation of Adam. Non existent, existence. The Mujadid only reaffirmed and re emphasized the doctrine of Wahdat ul Shahud, originally founded by Abdul Karim al Jili, the author of Al Insan, Al Insan ul Kamil. The spiritual fact, however, is that Wujudiya philosophy is of a loftier kind and admits of no considerations of convenience or compromise. The gnosis of Meher Baba is equally applicable to both these approaches to truth, and in order to follow it as given in the 10 states of God, some familiarity with the Sufi way of delineating the tanazzulat, the devolutions of the absolute, through successive stages of manifestation, known as Khamsa Wujudat. Khamsa is five. Khamsa Wujudat, five existences of the Sufi world, would be of help to the seeker. The gnosis of all perfect Sufis implies that God in the beyond state is unknowable and undefinable. In comprehending the state of God, Vara ul Vara, which is beyond, the wings of thought and imagination are paralyzed. In the beyond state, the absolute God, Wujud-e-Mutlak, is. So Paratpar Parabama, beyond the beyond, there's nothing. There is only state of God is. The Sufis have described this transcendent state of God in many ways, such as Gaib ul Gaib, the hidden of the hidden, Majhul un Nat, the unknowable and the undefinable. It is in this state that there is no knowledge of itself for Zat. Munkata ul Izarat, the state in relation to which all indications are brought. Isharat, actually it's Isharat, in indications. Al-Ama, the dark mist, which implies a state of latent potentiality of God in relation to its inward aspect of the beyond, and its
It is
outward aspects.
Izhar. Basically, the first one, it is
Yeah,
Izhar. Izhar means expression. So that is state of Mao Munkata ul Izharat.
Isharat.
Is hard. Yeah. Scheduled
Isharat.
alphabetic. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is
By the way,
hard.
I just looked at the
Bharat.
time. We
Yeah.
are already past
Yeah.
9.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah, I think that's quite a bit. So let's not. And already it's been quite a heavy session till now.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we will continue from this point
I was reading about
from
this
here.
guy called
Yeah,
Ibn
Arabi,
Irabi.
Ibn Arabi.
Irabi. He was born in Spain in 1165 and died in Syria 1240. And there are many books which are available on Amazon written by him.
Wow.
Just in case, just for the interest purpose. Yeah. He was a Sunni scholar. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, he's Sunni scholar. Okay.
Or,
Because I would imagine
there are about
most of the
700
Sufis are
authentic which are attributed to be written by him.
okay.
700, mind boggling.
Wow.
And still 400 are still surviving today. Jai Baba.
Wow. So I hope all of you have made spiritual progress understanding all these terms. We'll have a big quiz next week on all these terms. Okay, be
Hmm.
ready. Please listen. Please listen to the video by heart everything, and we're gonna have a quiz.
Can I apply for leave?
I thought I'll ask you to anchor next time and run the quiz.
I will. I'll anchor in absentia.
He, he will be the quiz
Okay,
master actually.
Yeah,
okay,
that
Just
is
that
no
need
is
to
problem. I
answer.
can ask any
that's no
question.
problem. Yes. I'll stop recording, but we can hang around for some more time if there are no
Samaji, where are you
specific
going?
comments.
Huh?
Where are you going?